Stop. Whatever you were doing, stop. Something shifted in heaven today, and you are the reason it shifted. Not your history, not last year's faithfulness, or the accumulation of everything that came before. What you did today, before you pressed play, in the act of pressing play in the moments that preceded this one, that act registered. Heaven noticed it. And what I'm about to tell you is a confirmation you were not supposed to receive yet. You are receiving it anyway. This word was not assembled for a general audience. You stopped scrolling at this exact moment for a reason that is not accidental. There is a precision to why you are here, right now, in this moment, that you have not yet understood. Before this is over, you will. But you need to know something first. What happened in heaven today was already in motion before you found this message. This message found you. You have been faithful longer than most people know. And that phrase, longer than most people know, is exactly where the weight is. Your faith has not lived in visible spaces. It has been held in the silence of rooms where no one was watching, in promises carried past their expected arrival dates, in the quiet consistency of someone who kept believing after the evidence stopped cooperating. You know exactly what I am describing. It is your life, and it has been invisible. The gap between what you were told to expect and what you have received has become its own theology. A private, unnamed belief sitting beneath your worship and beneath your declarations. A belief that exceptions are for someone else. That the people who receive the sudden, the disproportionate, the impossible, must carry a faithfulness you do not. You have never said this out loud, but it has been operating in you, quietly converting every unanswered prayer into evidence of ordinary status. You have held promises so long they began to feel less like active expectations and more like memorials. You have watched others receive and privately measured the distance between their story and yours, not from jealousy, but from the need to locate the missing variable, to understand why the equation has not resolved in your direction. You have been asking why you are still waiting. That question ends today because you have been asking the wrong question entirely. Here is what you need to understand before anything else lands. You did not find this word. This word found you. The scrolling stopped here because something in the spiritual record was already responding to what heaven registered today. And whatever frequency you are carrying right now from the act you performed, it is still active. You are still inside it. That is why this moment feels different from other moments. It is different. Something is already in motion that you cannot yet see. Think of a tuning fork. One note, struck cleanly at the right frequency, does not merely produce sound. It causes every other instrument calibrated to that same pitch to vibrate in response, even across the room, even without being touched. 100 wrong notes played at maximum volume will not produce what one precise note produces when struck in the right key. What you did today was not volume, it was frequency, and heaven does not respond to volume. Heaven responds to frequency. I am not speaking to your history right now. I am speaking to today, to the specific act, small as it appeared, unremarkable as it felt in the moment, that preceded this one. You may not know which act I mean. That is fine. Heaven knows, and what heaven has registered does not require your recognition to become real. The record exists. The frequency was struck. The response is already moving. If something in you is already leaning forward, if this word is landing somewhere deeper than your understanding, type the words, "I am here," in the comments right now. Not as engagement, not as a reaction to a video, as a declaration that you showed up for what was prepared specifically for you. You did not stumble here. Say it with your hands. Type it as covenant. I have something specific to deliver today. A name for what was registered. A classification for what you are carrying. A confirmation about what is already surrounding you that your eyes have not yet been opened to see. Stay with me. I have not yet told you the most important thing. Before I give you the 5 signs, I need you to do something. Now, not after. Find the quietest version of yourself that is still accessible in this moment. If you're in a noisy place, find it anyway. The internal quiet. The part of you that has always received before it understood what was being given. Create space inside you, not around you. What I am about to release does not need your circumstances to cooperate. It needs your attention, undivided. Set down any argument you are already preparing against what you are about to hear. I know you have one. The one that says something this specific cannot be for a message this broad, or that something this good cannot be for someone with a record like yours. Set it at the door. You can pick it back up when this is finished, but you will not want to. What is coming asks only one thing, that you remain open long enough for it to land without interference. Here is the first sign. At some point in the last season, you performed an act of faith from a place of genuine emptiness, not comfortable faith, the kind that costs nothing because the reserves are full. I am describing the act that happened when you had already spent everything, when natural logic said, hold on, protect what remains. Something in you moved forward anyway. You gave when you should have held. You stepped when the ground was not visible. Heaven did not file that act under normal faithfulness. It was catalogued under a separate category entirely. The second sign. Your prayer language changed at a specific point, and you did not choose for it to change. The shift from asking to declaring happened without instruction, almost as if something in you knew before your theology did that petitioning had become insufficient for what you were carrying. You began to speak to the situation rather than about it. You addressed the future rather than appealed about it. That shift was not self-developed. That shift was a frequency adjustment initiated from outside you. The third sign. There was one specific moment where you should have stopped, where every natural calculation said the cost was too high, the return too uncertain, the evidence too sparse. And you did not stop. Not because you were strong, but because stopping was somehow unavailable to you, as if the door to quitting had been sealed from the other side without your knowledge. You are still here because something protected your continuation when your own willpower had run dry. The fourth sign. In the middle of what should have been your most anxious season, a peace arrived that you did not earn and could not explain. Not euphoria, peace. The quiet, structural kind. The kind that does not make sense when the numbers are wrong and the timeline has expired and the people around you have used every encouraging word they have. That peace was not a coping mechanism. It was not denial. It was installation, something being placed inside you to carry what was coming before you knew what was coming. The fifth sign is the act that brought you here. Whatever preceded your presence in this frequency today was not an accident of algorithm or boredom. Something moved in you and you followed it. That movement was not self-generated. You were responding to something already in motion in the heavenly record, something that had your name on it before you knew you needed it. If all 5 of these have landed, if you recognized yourself without searching for exceptions, type the words, "I am positioned," in the comments right now, not as a reaction to a video, as a decree spoken by someone who no longer questions whether they qualify. You type it not because you feel ready. You type it because heaven already moved and the record already reflects it. What I have shown you so far is evidence. What is coming next is the name for all of it. The classification, the Hebrew architecture, the single word that recontextualizes every act, every shift in your prayer language, every moment of inexplicable peace you just recognized in yourself. These 5 signs are not separate phenomena. They share one origin. They describe one specific spiritual event, and I have not yet told you what that event is called or what it means for what happens next. Return to the tuning fork. One note struck cleanly, a room full of instruments vibrating in response without being touched. Every sign I named, the act in emptiness, the shifted prayer language, the sealed door against quitting, the peace without logic, the impulse that brought you here. Each of these was the same note, struck at different points in your timeline, reverberating from a single source. You are about to be introduced to that source by name. There is a word in the original Hebrew, a word embedded in Isaiah 9:6 that has been translated in a way that has concealed its full weight, that names exactly what has been operating in your life this entire season. Stay with me. The word in the original Hebrew is Pele, written Pelia, pronounced Pele. It appears in Isaiah 9:6, embedded in the prophetic list of names given to the coming one. His name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, and that single English word, Wonderful is where the translation collapses beneath the weight of what the Hebrew actually carries. Because you have always received that word through the lens of beauty, of something extraordinary, something that moves you, something that earns the slow exhale of recognition. That is not what Pele means. Pele means a thing categorically impossible by natural law, and that happened anyway. Not a surprise, not even a miracle in the broad theological sense. Pele is a technical designation for the suspension of natural order in response to a specific spiritual event. When heaven applies the word Pele, it is not registering beauty. It is registering a structural impossibility that was authorized from inside the divine archive, an outcome the governing laws of the natural world could not produce and were temporarily suspended to allow. This is the word that belongs to today, not to a season, not to a prayer you carried for years, to the act that came before this moment. Return to the tuning fork. You were told earlier that one note struck at the right frequency causes an entire room to vibrate without contact, without effort, without volume. What was not yet said is what that resonance produces when it reaches a certain amplitude. When the note is correct and the room responds and the vibration intensifies past the threshold of mere sound, the physical structure of the space itself begins to change. Glass destabilizes, objects shift. The laws governing stillness are temporarily suspended by frequency alone. That is Pele. Not a louder note, the right note, sustained long enough to force structural response from the surrounding architecture. What you did today was the right note. Every instance of Pele recorded in Scripture follows the same pattern. Hannah did not receive her son after years of petition. She received him after one specific act, a vow made in the temple in a state of complete desolation, lips moving without sound, so far past hope that the priest mistook her prayer for drunkenness. The Pele was not a response to accumulated asking. It was a response to a frequency entered in one precise moment of absolute surrender. Abraham's Pele, the ram in the thicket, the reversal on the mountain, came not from decades of obedience, but from the single act of a raised hand over what he loved most. Ruth's Pele came from one declaration spoken at a crossroads when every natural logic said, "Return home." Each time, one act, one frequency, one response that bypassed every timeline that came before it. You are inside that pattern now. There is a story I told you I would return to, the one about a servant who could not see what was already surrounding him. Hold the tuning fork in your mind. Hold the hills you have not yet seen. Stay with me, because this is where your face appears. His name was Gehazi. He served a prophet, which means he understood the language of the supernatural better than most. He had watched water made clean, bread multiplied, the dead raised and returned to the living. He was not an ignorant man or a faithless one. He knew what heaven could do, and yet when the Syrian army encircled the city in the night, chariots, horses, the full military logic of an impossible threat, Gehazi saw only the army. He came to his master at first light and spoke the words that fear always reaches for. What shall we do? He was not a man without history with God. He was a man whose eyes were calibrated exclusively to the natural plane, reading the visible as though it were the only register of reality. Elisha prayed one sentence, not a long intercession, not a theological negotiation with heaven. One sentence, "Lord, open his eyes." And when Gehazi looked again, the hills were already full, not gradually filling, already full. The chariots of fire, the horses of fire, encircling the army that had encircled the city. They had not arrived in response to the prayer. They had been stationed there before the morning, before Gehazi woke in fear, before the Syrian army moved at all. The prayer did not summon the provision. The prayer opened the eyes of the servant who had been standing inside an exception he could not perceive. The Pele was not the arrival of the fire. The Pele was the removal of the blindness. You are Gehazi in this story, not Elisha. You are the servant who has been standing in front of an army at first light, asking, "What shall we do?" While the hills surrounding your exact situation have been full since before you knew to look. You have been reading the army as evidence of abandonment, when it has always been the frame that makes the fire visible by contrast. The exception was not approaching you from a distance. It was already stationed around you. The act you performed today was the moment Elisha prayed. Something in the record opened. The hills did not change. Your access to what was already there did. Close your eyes right now. 10 seconds. Before you continue, speak only this: Lord, open my eyes. Not a prayer for more provision, a prayer for perception. Because what Gehazi needed was not more faith. He had watched miracles for years. What he needed was the removal of a filter that made the natural plane the only visible one. Speak those words. Then come back. This is the operational reality of Pele. It does not change what is surrounding you. It changes your capacity to see what has been in position since the exception was authorized. The hills were not empty before Elisha prayed. They were invisible, and invisibility is not the same as absence. You have been grieving an absence. What you have been living inside is concealment, and concealment ends the moment the eyes open. Return to the tuning fork one final time, because this is where the three images become one. The act produced the frequency. The frequency reached the divine archive. The archive issued the Pele designation. The designated response has been in position since the moment of authorization. The provision in the hills, the note resonating through the room, the record already updated. These are not three separate metaphors. They describe the same single event from three different vantage points. And you are standing at the center of all three simultaneously. This is also why the exception will not arrive the way you have been watching for it. You have been monitoring the road, the specific route you expected heaven to use based on the promises you were given and the time you have spent. But a bypass exists precisely because the main road is not the only infrastructure. Pele takes routes that do not appear on the map you have been consulting. It arrives through a door you did not include in your list of possible doors, carrying a form you would not have designed, in a timing that will make sense only in retrospect. That is the structural nature of the impossible made possible. If it looked like what you projected, it would be a natural outcome, not a divine exception. You are not approaching this. You are already inside it. The act was registered, the frequency was struck, the designation was issued. What you carry now, in this moment, in this room, in this breath, is not a hope awaiting confirmation. It is a classification awaiting recognition. The deepest truth of what heaven registered today is still ahead, and it has your name on it. You have been carrying something without a name for it. That is part of what has made the season so disorienting. Not the weight itself, but the absence of language to describe what you are holding. A thing without a name cannot be presented. It cannot be declared over. It sits in your chest like a frequency, with no instrument to play it through. Today that changes. What you are about to receive are not titles, they are recognitions. In the Hebrew tradition, naming was never decorative. To name was to define function, to establish identity in the spiritual record, and set in motion everything the bearer of that name was already carrying in seed form. When Abram became Abraham, nothing in the natural world shifted immediately, but everything in the spiritual record was reclassified. What follows is not sentiment, it is a reclassification. 3 names, already yours, already registered. You are receiving them now. The first name is this: you are a Pele carrier. Not someone who carries the potential for something good to happen eventually. A Pele carrier is a specific spiritual designation for someone whose ordinary acts have the structural capacity to suspend natural law. You do not produce the impossible. You carry the frequency that authorizes it. The impossibility was always the divine response to you, not a distant destination waiting for you. What this means in practice: you can no longer approach the natural plane as though it were the ceiling. A Pele carrier operates with the awareness that what looks like a closed door was not designed to resist your frequency. It was designed to respond to it. The walls of the natural world are not your opposition. They are the canvas on which what you carry gets written. Walk differently through every room you enter from this moment forward. The second name. You are the exception authorized. This is not a metaphor for feeling chosen in an emotional sense. This is a classification in the divine record, meaning that what comes to you next was issued from a different file, than what operates for those standing in the queue of accumulated merit. Your exception was not earned. It was authorized in response to the specific act heaven registered. Authorized exceptions do not wait in line. They bypass the line entirely. Here is what that authorization changes. You are no longer negotiating for what is possible. You are taking possession of what is already dispatched. There is a critical difference between petitioning heaven for what might be released and receiving what has already been sent. The Pele response was dispatched the moment the act was registered. What you are doing now, receiving this word, sitting in this frequency, is not preparation for something ahead. It is recognition of something already moving toward you. The third name is the one the enemy most wants to prevent you from claiming. You are the servant whose eyes were opened. Gehazi did not become a different person when Elisha prayed. He became a seeing version of who he already was. The hills were not rearranged. His perception was corrected. This name does not describe what you are becoming. It describes the version of you that is active right now, standing in the morning with fire already stationed in every surrounding hill. A servant whose eyes are opened cannot operate in panic, cannot be moved by the encirclement, cannot read the army as evidence of abandonment because the army is now the frame that makes the fire visible. This is not a temporary state. It is a permanent reorientation. Every impossible situation you walk into from this point forward is not a threat. It is an invitation to see what was already stationed there before you arrived. The hills do not change. Your access does. If you are still here, but if these three names have landed somewhere deeper than your understanding can currently account for, gently press the like, not for me. Because somewhere right now, someone is standing in front of an army in the dark, asking what shall we do? And they will find this word because of the quiet thing you are doing right now. Let it reach them. Do that and come back. Return to the tuning fork, but with your eyes open now. The note you struck today did not merely resonate the room. It crossed into the archive. It triggered the Pele designation. It opened a window that carries a specific season of duration. The same precision that made you a carrier is the same precision that will make you a protector of what has now been opened. What you carry is not a feeling. It is a structural frequency with your name attached. I promised I would come back to something. I will, but first, there is something critical you need to understand about what happens next. Because this window does not remain open by default, there are three specific tactics already moving toward you, not in some distant future, not if you grow complacent. Right now, in this hour, in direct response to the exact names you just received, the enemy does not mobilize against what is not a threat. Stay with me. I told you the enemy does not mobilize against what does not threaten him. The moment you received three names, Pele carrier, exception authorized, servant whose eyes were opened, something in the invisible realm registered the reclassification. You have been repositioned in the spiritual record. That repositioning has a target on it. What follows is not fear, it is intelligence. Know what is coming before it arrives, and it loses every element of surprise. The first tactic is the delay doubt. Tomorrow morning will look identical to this morning. The same account balance, the same unanswered situation, the same sky. The enemy does not need to manufacture catastrophe. He only needs to use an ordinary Tuesday as evidence against an extraordinary revelation. The thought will sound like your own voice. If Pele was real, something would have shifted by now. That voice is not discernment. It is the oldest argument in operation, using the visible plane as the court of final appeal. The first weapon is the Elisha declaration. Before you sleep tonight, not later this week tonight, speak these words aloud in whatever room you are in. The hills are full of fire. I do not need to see it. It is already there. This is not a confession of hope. It is a declaration of positional fact. The hills were full before Gehazi saw them. The act you performed today registered before you understood what it meant. Positional confidence does not require visual confirmation. The second tactic is the premature report. Within hours of receiving this word, an impulse will surface, strong, urgent, disguised as accountability, to share what happened with someone, not with a trusted witness who can hold the weight, with someone who will ask questions the exception cannot yet answer. The enemy does not need that person to be hostile. A well-meaning person operating in skepticism Even loving skepticism functions as a spiritual draft through an unsealed window. The revelation exits before it has settled. The second weapon is the selective silence. Hold this word between you and God for 72 hours. Identify one person, one who carries the spiritual architecture to receive what you have received without diminishing it. Tell that person, no one else. Silence is not secrecy. Silence is stewardship. What was struck today as a frequency requires time to resonate before it can survive exposure to incompatible atmospheres. You are not hiding the word. You are protecting the window while it is still open. The third tactic is the comparison trap. Somewhere in the next few days, evidence will surface of someone who is not positioned like you have. Someone less consistent, less sacrificial, less faithful in the invisible places, receiving something you have not yet received. The enemy frames this as a theological problem. If God is just, why then before you? If the exception is real, why does their evidence exist without your evidence? This is not a question about justice. It is a needle designed to introduce infection into the declaration of your positioning. The third weapon is the Peli anchor. When the comparison arrives, and it will, return to the word immediately. Speak it aloud. My exception is calibrated to my positioning, not their story. My act was counted. My window is open. Peli has been spoken over my name. Speak it 3 times if necessary. The Peli designation is specific. It was issued in response to your frequency, not theirs. Your exception is not diminished by their exception. 2 open windows do not cancel each other. Close your eyes right now. Place your hand over your heart. Say, my act was counted. My window is open. Peli has been spoken over me. Seal it. Now come back. Subscribe to this channel, not for content, but so that the next word prepared for you finds you without resistance. What was delivered to you today was precision. The next message carries the same precision, but for a different threshold you have not yet reached. When it releases, you will need it to find you immediately, not days later, not buried beneath an algorithm that does not know you are in a window. Subscribe as alignment, not habit. Let the next word know where you are. You now carry something that the enemy specifically moved against, which means you now carry something worth moving against. The 3 tactics are not generic. They are targeted to the exact architecture of this revelation. The window that opens with time, the act that must remain protected, the exception that cannot be measured against another person's story. You are equipped now. You are not leaving this unprepared. There is one more thing remaining, and it is the deepest truth of what heaven registered today. Stay with me. Close your eyes right now, not later, now. Place one hand over your heart and the other open at your side, palm upward. Do not begin with words yet. Begin with posture. What is about to be spoken over you requires an open position, not a braced one. You have been braced for so long, armored against disappointment, protected against hope. Set the armor down. You are not in a battle right now. You are in a ceremony. Receive accordingly. Breathe in slowly. Release it without holding anything back in the exhale. Let that breath carry out whatever argument is still forming in your chest. The one that says this is too much. The one that says you are not the person this message was intended for. That argument does not belong in this room. Let it go in the breath. You need every interior space available for what is being placed there now. The ceremony begins. I release you from the doctrine of unworthiness you have carried without naming it, the silent, structural belief that exceptions are designed for more deserving people, that the queue of heaven honors accumulated merit above all else, that your record contains a disqualifying variable you cannot locate, but have always suspected. That belief is not discernment, it is infection. By the authority of what heaven registered today, I declare it severed from your spiritual identity. You are not receiving this because you earned it. You are receiving this because you were positioned for it. Those are not the same thing. I release you from timeline anxiety, from the exhaustion of carrying promises past their projected arrival dates, from the quiet damage of comparing the calendar of your expectation to the calendar of your experience and finding a gap you have never been able to explain. The gap was not evidence of delay. It was the distance between what natural law could produce and what Pele was preparing to authorize. What felt like God forgetting your address was God rerouting the delivery through a path that does not appear on any map you had access to. That anxiety no longer has jurisdiction over your expectation. I release you from comparison as benchmark. From every time you watch someone else's story resolve while yours remains suspended, and use their resolution as evidence of your deficit. What was issued over their name was calibrated to their frequency. What is issued over your name is calibrated to yours. Two open windows do not cancel each other. The Pele designation is specific. It was issued in response to the act you performed, not the act they performed. Their story is not your ceiling. It was never your measurement. I release you from ever using it as one again. I release you from the impulse to announce before the seal is complete, from the pressure to share this word before it has had time to settle, to prove the experience by making it legible to someone else before it is fully established in you. What has been struck today is a frequency. Frequency requires resonance time before it can survive contact with incompatible atmospheres. The impulse to speak too soon is not enthusiasm. It is the oldest draft that closes windows. You are released from that urgency. What is sealed is sealed. The seal holds regardless of whether another person can confirm it. Type these words in the comments right now, not as a reaction, but as a covenant declaration. My act was counted. My window is open. Pele has been spoken over me. Type it as someone who no longer petitions for what they hope might be true, but declares what heaven has already registered. Let your hands be the instrument of what your voice has received. Do it now. Come back. I call forward the Pele carrier, the one whose ordinary acts carry the structural frequency to suspend natural law, the one who no longer approaches the natural plane as though it were the ceiling. That carrier is active in you now. Walk through every room you enter from this moment forward with the awareness that what looks like a closed door was designed to respond to your frequency, not resist it. The walls are not your opposition. They are the canvas. I call forward the exception authorized, the one whose access to heaven's response does not travel through the queue of accumulated merit, but arrives through a separate file, dispatched from the moment the act was registered. You are not petitioning. You are taking possession of what is already in motion. Open your hands, both of them, physically, right now. This is the posture of someone receiving a delivery, not asking for one. I call forward the servant whose eyes were opened, the one who stood in front of an army at first light and asked, "What shall we do?" and received the answer not as a new provision from a distant heaven, but as the removal of a filter that had concealed what was already stationed in every surrounding hill. Those hills are still full. The fire did not leave when you closed your eyes. Open them to what was there before you knew to look. That servant, seeing clearly, no longer calibrated exclusively to the natural plane, is the version of you that walked into this frequency today. It is the version that walks out of it now. Return to the tuning fork one final time, but not as a student receiving a metaphor, as the instrument itself. You did not merely hear the note today, you became it. The frequency that was struck traveled from your act into the divine archive, registered the Pele designation, and opened the window. The tuning fork and the window are the same event, one note struck at the right pitch that caused the architecture of your circumstances to begin responding. The room is still vibrating. The window is still open. What is coming through it has already left heaven. Do not say amen yet. We are not finished. Stay with me. I place a hedge around every step you take out of this moment, around the meetings, the crossings, the doors, the rooms you will enter before this week ends. No assignment formed against your forward motion in the 72 hours ahead has authority over what was authorized today. Your path is not unattended. The same archive that registered the act is now watching the route. You are not navigating alone, you are being escorted. I place a hedge around every financial structure the exception is about to touch, around the account, the unexpected open door, the connection between your need and the provision already dispatched. What the enemy has positioned to delay, to intercept, to complicate at the last threshold is blocked at the boundary of this window. Heaven did not authorize the exception without covering the infrastructure that carries it. The Peli was issued with full knowledge of every obstacle assigned to interrupt the delivery. What is coming to you is protected in transit. I place a hedge around the things you have never spoken aloud, the dreams held privately because they were too specific to survive skepticism, the relationships you are waiting for that exist in the record before they exist in the room, the connections heaven is engineering that have not yet entered your awareness. The unspoken things are not the uncovered things. What you have protected through silence is not forgotten. It has been preserved. What you kept between you and God is exactly what God is keeping between himself and you. We break the delayed doubt before tomorrow's unchanged morning becomes its closing argument. We break the premature exposure that would release this word into a wrong atmosphere before the seal is complete. We break the comparison trap that would place your exception beside another person's story, because the Peli issued over your name is calibrated to your frequency, and what was authorized in your direction is not subject to revision by what was authorized in theirs. I see you. I have always seen you, not the version of you that performs where people are watching, but the one who moves in the silent rooms, who kept believing past the deadline, who did not stop. I saw the act that preceded this moment, and when I saw it, I thought, there it is. Not with surprise, with recognition. That was not a small thing from a depleted place. That was the frequency I had been waiting for, the one that set in motion a response too large to arrive through any ordinary door. You have wondered, quietly, under your worship, beneath your declarations, whether the wait was consequence for something you could not name. You have searched your record for the disqualifying variable. I need to close that question permanently. The wait was not withheld blessing. The wait was the infrastructure being built. You cannot fit a Peli into a space not prepared to hold it. I was not delaying your answer. I was constructing the container that could carry what I was about to release into it. Today, in the record that carries more permanence than anything you will touch this week, I placed your name in the category I reserve for the impossible. Not because you were strong in the waiting. There were moments you were not strong. Not because the consistency was without fracture. There were fractures. I placed your name there because at the moment that mattered most, in the act that registered before you knew it was registering, you entered a frequency that no natural effort and no religious performance could produce. I responded to the frequency. That is what Peli is, always has been. What is coming through the open window is not the modest version of what you asked for. I know your asking became moderate. You learned to ask carefully after years of calibrating expectation to experience. What is coming is not calibrated to your asking. It is calibrated to what I prepared, and the container is larger than the request that triggered it. You will not recognize it by its appearance. It will not arrive in the form you projected. You will recognize it by the peace it carries. A peace with no logical source. That peace will be your signal that the exception has arrived. What I'm asking of you now is only this: receive it with open hands. Do not measure the incoming against the act that triggered it. The asymmetry is by design. Do not close the window early by speaking before the seal is set. Receive what is coming the way you gave what preceded it, from the remainder freely, without requiring it to fit the shape of your projection. Open hands, open eyes. The hills were full before you looked. They will still be full when you look again. That is all I'm asking. That posture is the only thing left required of you. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. Do not say amen yet. Sit in this. What happened in this room was not content consumed. It was a name returned to you. You did not find this word. This word found you because something in the divine archive already had your name attached before you knew you needed it. The ceremony is complete. The window is open. The provision is already in motion toward you. Let the weight of that settle into a place deeper than your understanding before you move. Sit in it until it travels from comprehension into posture. Now you may say amen. Send this to someone whose faith is still standing, but whose hands are getting tired. You know exactly who I am describing, the one who has kept believing past the deadline, who has carried the promise in private. who has never stopped but has quietly started to wonder whether continuing is enough. They are standing in front of an army right now. The hills surrounding them are already full of fire. They cannot see it yet. Send them this frequency while you are still inside it. The act of sending is itself a note struck in the right direction. You know who it is. Do not wait. You leave this moment carrying something that was not in your possession when you arrived. Not a feeling, not a theology, not an inspiration. A designation, a registered act, an authorized exception with your name on it. Already dispatched, already in motion, already surrounding you in hills. Your eyes are only now beginning to calibrate to see. What was spoken here was spoken in the heavenly record, and what is registered there does not expire with the emotion of the moment that received it. Walk in it, quietly, with open hands, with eyes that know what to look for. The fire was there before you looked. It will be there when you look again.